just do the sound test. It's working for everyone, yeah? Okay, great. So it's nice to be here today. I think the crowd, it looks a little smaller. Hopefully some people will join in after a while. And today the topic is Internet of Things, People and Services. It's also called Industry 4.0. So in this presentation today, you will hear about what is really driving the internet. What us in the data center community needs to. So we'll just go through this, and we'll have a time for questions in the end, and then I will wrap up with the summary. Yeah? Okay, great. With that said, let's get started right away. So normally we only hear about the other companies. They talk about the Internet of Things. Of course, in ABB we try to have a broader vision. So we also include people and services, because connecting things to the internet, we have done that for a long time. It's not so special. Our mobile phones are connected to the internet and many other devices. But what is the unique thing is that how we can provide better services by having more things connected to the internet, and also how people are part of this this triangle that is formed. So let me just show you a bit of a movie, and this comes from another ABB business unit. This is from our robotics division, so it's not directly to do with data centers, but these are the kind of devices and the kind of applications that will generate a lot of traffic to the data center and drive the need for improvements in that area. So let's take a look at the movie here for a while.
ABB is a company in the power and automation business, and part of the automation business is robotics. We are one of the leading companies when it comes to industrial robots.
Well, you know, our robots are used by customers that have extreme high demands. In some cases we have customers that produce a car every minute. Now you can imagine what it means if this robot or one of the robots stops for an hour. Before the Internet of Things days, customers would maintain the robot according to a certain schedule, number of hours, but not every robot is used in the same way. Thanks to the Internet of Things, through the black box that we have in our robot provides us with the data, we can see how a robot is used, which load, which torque, how many hours, and with that we can adjust our maintenance schedule to that individual robot. That reduces the cost for a customer and increases the lifetime of that robot.
We talk about Industry 4.0 sometimes, where the first thing that happened really was the steam engine, then was the assembly line, then it was electronic control systems, and now it's the internet of just not things, but of people, things and services.
Well, the Internet of Things means a lot of things, but for us it's like things, people and devices are connected all the time.
Once we get the majority of our robots connected to the internet, then it becomes possible for us to mine that data and turn that into to valuable information that can then form the basis for new services. Now, with the Internet of Things, it's possible to get the snapshot of what's going on right now.
It's no longer good enough to have a fast response time or a fast reaction time. So what happens now is that we help our customers to foresee that a maintenance need is expected. So we see that a robot is in need of maintenance, or we see that something is going on that's not normal. And then we act before we have a stop.
An example where we had problems during the night with a customer in Mexico. We wanted to get information about the robot equipment. Then by using Jasper Control Center platform from France, we were able to analyze the problems and switch operator to communicate with the equipment and get what we need here.
We can actually connect to the robot and get the information firsthand, and that way quite often we will be able to help the customer correct the problem without even sending a service person out there, which of course saves a lot of time and can increase the uptime for the customer.
So we're definitely moving as a company to a services provider, and this is also exactly what our customers want. And then of course it will be meaningful and valuable services that we provide to our customers. Let me put it this way: to supply a robot to a customer is one thing, to have a device that produces all the time for a customer is another thing.
So that was an example how my company ABB, we are using Internet of Things to help our customers to provide a better service, to provide more value and help them increase their productivity. So basically what will happen is that more and more companies will go down this route. A lot of the devices that are not connected to Internet now and providing data, they will all be connected. So there will not only be one Internet of Things, there will be many, many Internet of Things, depending on what is needed. Yeah. So we will be seeing a big explosion in data growth that will just keep on expanding. And according to some research, around 90% of all the data that we have today was produced only 2 years ago. So this pace is just going to keep on accelerating by a lot. This also means that we will be able to, or we have to, in our data centers, be prepared to process more distributed data. It's not going to be possible to bring all the data into one central data center. The cost of transporting that data will just be too much. So we will have to have many more data centers than what we have today to process that data locally and only send up the more important, valuable data for further processing in our central data centers. And also you can see here that primarily today, you know, what has been driving the data need in the data centers, these are our personal devices, so we can carry a few of them. But generally, the growth of data has been capped by the number of users. Now, machines, they will become independent users and producers of data on their own, in their own right, to connect and send data. So we will not be limited by how many people are going to be buying mobile phones anymore. This is going to be applying to a lot more units than what we have people in the world. And then finally, the third challenge is how do we supply power for all of this? Because of course, if we're going to be transporting and processing a lot more data, we're going to have to power all of that in a clean, energy efficient way. So these are just some more numbers. We have over 6.4 billion connected things right now. By 2020, that will be up in over 20 billion, I think 27 billion by 2020. So that is increased by a huge factor. 5.5 million new things are being connected every day to the internet, and the traffic is increasing a lot. And you can see here yourself that it's going to be from small devices that is sending all of this data, and not only PCs anymore. And here you can see this same picture on the same street was taken just 8 years apart. The first picture is when the old Pope he died. Then you see people are there to pay their respects. And then just 8 years later, it's a totally different picture. How we have transformed in just this short amount of time, right? 100% market penetration almost on the smartphones in this short while. So this is talking about the evolution that has been taking place in the industry. Since the industry is what's going to be generating all of this data. So the first revolution, that was the steam engine. We no longer need manpower or horses to power our machines. We had mechanical equipment to do that. The second revolution is the conveyor belt. So this came around when Mr. Ford started to mass producing cars for the general population. So then we could take products that took a long time to build and make them available for the masses. And then the third revolution, this is the programmable control systems, that we don't need so many people to take decision, but we can automate to a much higher degree. So the Industry 4.0 revolution that we believe is going to be just as significant is currently taking place right now. And this is when the devices, they become more independent, more self-aware of the data they need. They can take actions directly and so on. So I think no one has quite solved that yet, how it will actually work in the future. But here are a few of the drivers that is going to be pushing this. So the first requirement for this revolution to really take place is that we have a robust communication structure. So the communications, they need to be available everywhere and cheaply. This is almost in place with all of this 3G, 4G technology that is available. We don't need to wire anything anymore. So that is on the infrastructure. The second part is on the devices. So the devices, they come with connectivity. They have some kind of identifier. They can tell who they are to the infrastructure. And that is there. We have that for the smartphones. The third requirement is that the devices become more intelligent, that they know who they are, what their purpose is, what their capabilities are, and they can store a digital copy of themselves up in the cloud. So when we talk about IT equipment and phones, it's not really a revolution because they pretty much do that today. However, when we move to the industrial world and look at other type of devices, it changes, yeah. So so then we transform, or we change this IT equipment to everyday items. Here, robot, different type of control systems, electrical switchgear, drives, chillers, all of this type of equipment will be able to build what is the Internet of Things. And that is really a big change, because that has not been the way in the past. So here, we're clearly standing for a revolution. So, moving on here to some examples. And you can see here the three layers that make up this chain. The lower one is the physical objects that has to be intelligent. Then in the middle layer we need a infrastructure, a cloud. So this is where our data centers come into picture to power this industrial 4.0 revolution. And then on the top level, this is going to be what is driving this. This is the services and the values that are being produced for the customers. So there we will be able to have different apps and algorithms that improve the way that we operate. Right. So here is one example from Germany. These are IoT-enabled gas stations. So these gas stations, they are aware where they are located with a GPS chip built inside. They also know the price that the manufacturer wants to charge for the gas. So they can independently upload this information into the cloud and publish this, and then a user with a mobile phone, he will be able to access this on his app and see where are all the gas stations that are near him. No one needed to program this app, and this is the difference, that the devices themselves uploaded this information. And also it could be further enhanced. For example, if no one is using a gas pump, maybe it is out of the way, it could then lower its price until people start to come and buy gas from the gas pump. So there you are starting to have devices competing against each other and forming an economy. So this is quite amazing. Huh? So what is available today, we have all of the infrastructure with the clouds, the different devices that are connected. But what will be the changes? There will have to be some standards developed, and ABB were participating in these different standards bodies. So those standards involve communication protocols, how we handle security. Of course, we don't want anyone to be able to hack entire countries and just shut them down. These threats of cyber warfare are of course very serious, so that has to be addressed. The devices, they have to be self-aware and be able to publish their data with minimal effort from the users. And then also, what are the new services that will create value using all of this data? So I think, you know, over the years you have seen services, new companies pop up from nowhere and become huge industries in just 1 year. Examples are Uber, just using cars that were available on the street already, but having an app and then just letting people register as driver, and then if you want to purchase a service, you do that through the app. You get a whole new economy going. And it was already there. Airbnb is a different example. People have houses, they have rooms that are spare. You just invent a new service, and then boom, you have something that is competing against the hotels in ways people could not even imagine a few years before. So you can think about, when we are getting all of these sensors, what can really happen in our world. There will be so many new opportunities. I don't even think we can imagine them all right now. Right, so this is just the example here, how we use our services, and then we connect them with the Internet of Things to provide value for people. And let's move on here. I have to click 3 times every time I want to change a slide for some reason. So here, this was Apple's vision. They had the old phone, and then they say that the future of the phone, that is apps. And that is what we have now, right? That we make the phone intelligent by loading it with apps. We can customize the ones that we think are providing value for us. And of course, no one is buying this phone anymore, unless you're, you know, a construction worker and you need something very, very heavy duty. Yeah? So the same thing here. Right, so this is for the industrial equipment. So we believe the same thing can happen there, that the equipment becomes more clever. We load it with different apps, the ones that we need. If we want to do remote diagnostics, for example, on a piece of hardware, there can be a remote diagnostics app. If we need to be able to see what it's doing, there can be a camera app and so on. Location, GPS, all of this follows. So the things that we are seeing is that we can have new business models pop up, and we believe that the digital technologies here, that will be a truly disruptive technology that will enable new companies to come into business. Perhaps some companies will go out of business that is not able to make the transitions. And the data itself, that will become very, very valuable, almost like a currency. that the one who knows what is going on will be able to be one step ahead at all of the time. We will need more low-cost sensors to just put them in everywhere, and also better communication standards. So this was the main part of the presentation. So I would like to open up for some questions now, and after the questions I just do the final conclusion, what you need to think about in the data center industry. Do we have any question today? It seems the presentation was crystal clear then, or no? One question over here to this gentleman.
Is this Internet of Things, is there over the internet or local internet?
This will truly be over the internet. What ABB has used, it's a technology by Cisco called Jasper, and that is a secured communication channel on the 3G networks that are available. Yeah.
Okay, so then there should be some security devices installed for their security purpose.
Absolutely. So so the security that ABB is using, that is provided by Cisco, who are network and security experts.
Okay,
so they have the infrastructure for that, and then our apps run on top of that. And that is what we saw in the robot movie, that how each individual robot is sending up the service information to the cloud for that purpose. Yeah.
So there is a combination of Cisco and ABB for this network.
Yes. All right. Then I'll just head on to the summary here. So this is what we will be needing to think about. So the number of devices that will really explode, exponential growth. There will be billions of new devices. So that means we need more and bigger data centers. We also need to make sure that the connectivity is excellent. We need to have a good network coverage everywhere, so these devices, they can be in many different places so that they're able to communicate and send data. One concern for data centers, this will be to secure the power that will be needed for the future. In Singapore, at least, I know that some data centers, even though they want to grow, they have a difficulty. The Singapore power grid is not able to give them more power in that location because the substations, they are maxed up of capacity there. So this will need to be planned for as well. And then, of course, if more people want to use the energy, the price of energy could risk to go up. So we have to also look at new sources of energy, green energy, and sustainable energy for the future.